actually, there's a philosophy within Daoism that says when you're balanced, you attract the things that will help you keep balance and the things that help you grow. When you're out of balance, you'll attract the things that will keep you out of balance.
In this episode of the Shugyō podcast, I sit down with Sifu Boggie, a Daoist guy and a healer with over 40 years of experience in Qigong, Tai Chi, and traditional bodywork. During our conversation, he shared practical wisdom for martial artists of all ages, especially those of us navigating training as we get older. From alignment and injury prevention to internal awareness and healing, this episode offered powerful insight to support your own Shugyō, your lifelong path for training and refinement. Let's get started. Welcome to the Shugyō podcast.
Thank you very much.
For listeners who don't know you yet, can you give us a short introduction to your martial art path, Qigong, Tai Chi, and the healing art that you practice?
Certainly. So my real name is Paul Brighton, but I'm known as Sifu Boggie. For the last 40 years, I very much studied the Daoist arts. When I originally started, I did do judo, jiu-jitsu, aikido, but then very much my Sifus were far more into the Daoist style. So Tai Chi Tonglong, the praying mantis, drunken style, the different Qigongs. And over the last 40 years, I've very much delved into those, very much the internal styles. One of my specialities as such was TuiNa, so the grappling techniques. But my Sifus were very much, I always call it the corny saying of, before you can learn to kill, you must learn to heal. So I learned, the martial, medical, and meditational side, I very much learned the medical side, the healing side. So all those holds and locks I learned the healing practices to them. I learned Tit-Tar, which is Chinese osteopath and Chinese chiropractor, as well as TuiNa. And my goal was always, or my philosophy was always, like in wartime, or if I'm surrounded by bandits or somebody trying to nick my wallet, then I do fighting style. Otherwise, my philosophy is the healing style and helping. More importantly, for me, is helping others help themselves, because that's my Dao, or my belief of the Dao, the way, the path to balance, is very much about helping others realize their own potential. For the last 30 years, I studied psychology, NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and then went into epigenetics, which is very much what the Eastern philosophy of the Dao is about, is that the way you think and feel will affect your physical health. So I delved a lot into that, and it actually pairs quite nicely with Tai Chi and Qigong, is the epigenetics, because the breathing techniques and the meditational techniques helps your mind relax and calm. And when your mind starts to relax, your body starts to relax, and the self-healing can happen.
Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, there's a lot of journey, I think, your practice struggle that you didn't mention, I'm sure, that throughout the journey. Like you said, initially, you were interested more in the martial arts side, but later come to the understand for the healing side. Can you talk about the shift, right? What shift your perspective? It seems like now you practice the martial part, but you also practice the internal arts, right? So can you walk us through that process?
Yes, well, so as a child, I was bullied and picked on when I was young. And so when I first went into this, one of the first martial arts I did was actually a martial art called Kitida, or Kitsa, I think it's now called. And it is like a 25-step like moves, only 25 steps for different applications. But their big focus was the breathing, which I actually really enjoyed. When I was then found my Sifus, which was quite early on, they very much focused on the defense side at first. Is like they taught me again in the non-martial art world. When somebody breaks a brick, we go, "Oh wow, that's awesome! Break a brick." But martial artists says, "Oh, not another brick, not another brick breaking." And so for me, I learned to heal myself and learning to fix oneself. But also, the first thing I actually was taught and learnt was how to take a punch and how to take a throw. Because the biggest thing I learned was when you learn how to punch, and suddenly it doesn't hurt as much because when you tense, obviously it hurts more, and when you relax into getting hit, you can actually learn to soften the blow. And when I learned that, there was a big psychological thing for me because it was like, oh wow, I don't have to be scared of the bully anymore. I don't have to be scared of somebody threatening me. And it taught me, like the other side of, a lot of people think in martial arts, it's all about the fighting. But martial arts, the martial is the practice, and the art is about learning about oneself, personal development, and learning that practice going through. So, what happened in my younger years, in my 20s, I very much learnt the fighting side. So I learnt. My teachers they looked after people in Fortune 500 companies. So they looked after millionaires, billionaires, simply for protection. So I learnt that side. I learnt the fighting side, and I learnt TuiNa, the grappling and the holds, and that's where it started. But very, very quickly, like my teachers go, yes, okay, brilliant. You know how to do this. Like you know how to hold somebody in a lock, but you flip that the other way around, and that lock becomes a way of releasing tension in their body. And like I said, like my teachers would say, before you can learn to kill, you must learn to heal. And they would also say, before you can learn to break, you have to learn to fix. So if you break people, you have to fix people. And it was almost drilled into me in this idea of, well, you hurt them, you got to fix them. It's your almost like very much almost like on the Buddhist path of, well, like you take responsibility for this situation. So it was this, well, I could do this part, I could defend or I could hit somebody this way, but how much damage is it going to do? Or how much am I going to have to fix them afterwards? So I learned how to do things in a way that minimizes risk or minimizes damage, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, right? So you learn all the pressure points, you know how the chi flows in the body, then it could either on two sides of the coin, right? For one thing, if you really want to hurt that individual, then you know where to attack that they could hurt the most. But at the same time, when you're healing someone, maybe the chi is not flowing to a particular area. That's why you're in pain or you have headaches, whatever that it might be, and you can actually help them smooth it out. So I really like that. I know you mentioned it for a few times. Before you can learn to kill, you must learn to heal.
Because, it's like having a bit of humility and understanding that, it's very easy to, there's all this knowledge and it's very easy to get a bit hooked in it. Oh, yes, I know all of this and I know that this, that, and the other, but it's very, very easy also is to get a bit too cocky and then make a mistake and fluff things up. So humility is the key, and it's like understanding, it's just the bigger picture is like, yes, when you're in a situation where you're being attacked, you want to know what to do and how to get out of that. That's awesome. But when you're not in those situations, the skills I were taught were well, when it's not for fighting, it's for healing and for helping. So educate people, help people understand how to, look after their own body. Help people understand, that. And the biggest thing I'm very much into is the epigenetics of the way you think and feel affects your physical health. So if you're stressed and angry, that turns, the old Daoist saying of anger and stress turns into tension into the body. Tension turns into illness. So don't get angry, don't get worried, don't feel frustration, it'll kill you. And so it's learning, that, there's a bigger picture here. There's a lot of martial artists that will focus on certain things, or focus on getting strong and focus on getting hard. But th- there were even in Tai Chi, which there are certain people that go very spiritual in Tai Chi. Oh, I'm not about fighting. I'm all about spirit, and like that's cool. But then when you're no longer paying attention to body mechanics, which is very important in Tai Chi, Qigong martial arts, and you're overextending your knee past your toes when you're doing certain things, and you start wearing from doing that, you start putting pressure onto your kneecap, and over a period of time, you wear your kneecap away. There is actually in Tai Chi, there's a thing called Tai Chi knee injury, where
Really?
people,
Oh,
you know, are actually ignoring, because they don't want to focus on fighting. They're actually ignoring the body mechanics, which is actually that's for healing. It's not just for fighting; it's for healing. So the, this whole thing that I try to get people to remember is that martial arts is not a fighting system; it's a medical system. It's a healing system. Martial arts is about personal development. It's more than one thing, and so there's lots of different things to be aware of and to understand. And I've had lots of friends who done taekwondo and karate, and who would overextend their hip a certain way, or and they get over a period of time. They started off when they were their teenager, and in their late 20s, they start having knee problems, hip
mm,
problems. And I saw this a lot. It's like, since you're overextending, you're not, body mechanics is understanding how your body works is actually really important. And it's just like, like car lovers. You have a car and you really love your car. You know the ins and outs of your car, and you know how to look after it, maintain it. And your body's a car. Your body's a freaking vehicle. Look after that, maintain that, because when you get to like, well, I'm 55 now. When I've seen a lot of people get into their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, and they start talking about aches and pains, and it's like, well, okay, and I understood that. But in my 20s, I went to China, and I saw 80 and 90-year-olds in China that made me look unfit in my 20s. And I was pretty fit in my 20s. And these guys were doing splits and headstands and one finger press ups. And it blew my mind, because I don't know about, I'm obviously in England, in the UK, but there's a big thing in England and Great Britain about, you get to a certain age and you start getting aches and pains. That's just old age.
yeah,
That's just, you're getting old. And
yeah.
it's like, no, it's not. It's because otherwise, how does that work? How do these 80, 90-year-olds, 70, 80, 90-year-olds will still be super fit and still be super active? Because they've learned to maintain their body in a certain way. And it
Yeah.
blew my brain. It blew my mind that things aren't what we see. We think of old age and we think, oh, this is normal now. It's no, you just need to move more. You need to stretch more. You need to do the things you weren't doing as a teenager, or whether you're a martial artist or not. The things you weren't doing when you was a younger, you now need to do more, because your body needs more oiling. It needs
Mm.
more stretching, and it needs more circulating, because you do change over time, but you can maintain your health. But you just need to focus more on the things that maintain your health.
I have so many questions. I don't know where to start.
Pick
Well,
one,
first,
Sifu.
yeah.
Pick one.
First, I would think that how can someone, or in our case, right, a martial art practitioner, can we tell that we are overextending, or are we going to the point that we're stretching a joint where, like the car example, we're on the verge of breaking, right? Because sometimes I don't know, like sometimes I go to the gym, sometimes I practice karate, and I am going beyond, or I haven't recovered well enough to be able to go into the session. I feel it in my body, but if I, stretch out, if I take our time, go to the hot tub, do whatever needs to be done for me, I notice that the body say, okay, thank you. That's why you're doing the right thing. So how can we tell, especially in a martial artist way, maybe this is the limit for where you are because you didn't sleep good, or you were angry at work for the past 5 days, or you're not eating well? How is there ways that we could tell from ourselves that we are overextending?
Yes, short answer, yes. But you sort of said it in yourself. Is the biggest thing is to understand. It's like, you know, like whether you're a brand new in martial arts or brand new in what I'm talking about, or you're a grandmaster. Your biggest Sifu, your biggest sensei, your biggest teacher is actually your own body. And that's the one thing you should be listening to the most. And we tend to ignore our bodies. This is the thing. We tend to sort of abuse them. And then when we get the aches and pains, I mean, the biggest thing I was taught that dis-ease is blockage within the, because my seafoods were very much yes about the chi and energy, but they're saying, but don't get caught up in thinking, oh, this is woo woo thing, the chi, the energy, the magic. It's like it's quantum physics. This is quantum physics. This is physical body. That your body flows in a certain way. Now, when you if you're if you're getting aches, if you're getting a cold, or if you feel, oh, that's sore, that's you've done too much. If you're getting a bit too angry, you're not doing enough of something. You're not doing enough, or maybe we'll get to this as well. The meditation side, but don't get fooled by that word. But the whole point is that when you're feeling these things, rather than ignore them, listen to your body. Because when you listen to your body, it will thank you. It will, when you start learning. And the biggest thing is, like, I can't say you should do this much and that much and this much, because every single one of us is different. And this is why, for me, like the Tao, the way, the path to balance is not a set of scales. It's a wave. It's more like a wave. It's a flowing energy, and it adapts to every single person. So you've got to find out your Tao. You've got to find out your way. And the biggest thing my teacher's taught is the first thing you should learn is yourself. Is
Mm.
learn how you work and how you adapt. And there's a physical side to you. There's an emotional, the mind. But in for me in Daoism, the mind is more the emotional side, the emotional mind, the physical mind or body, and then you've got the consciousness of the spirit, the Shen, and they all need their own things. They all need their own times. And then for me, a little bit woo woo maybe, but it also goes into the masculine and the feminine. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're man, woman, banana, or goat. We have a masculine side. We have an assertive side. We have the get things done, the physical side. We have a feminine side, which is your feeling, your nurturing, your the feminine energy is the thing that maintains stuff. It's like you create stuff, that's with the masculine energy. You nurture stuff and keep it going. So that's with the feminine energy. And you also have the sacred child, the playful side. The side that allows you to stare into space for a little bit, or see the bigger picture, or allow yourself to think. And so, if you don't keep those three happy, you don't keep those three. If you do lots of just physical stuff and always moving, and you never allow yourself just to sit and chill, you'll burn yourself out. And things will start hurting. If you do too much chilling and too much laying down like a couch potato, you'll get punished for that as well. So and if you're feeling so much that you don't actually get anything done, there'll be a punishment of sorts for that. So it's about this balance. It's about allowing yourself to listen, allowing yourself to play, allowing yourself to do what you need to. And the biggest thing for me is this thing about listening to the body, is starting to, rather than going, ow, that hurts. Why is that hurting? Or what, and if you sort of tense and then relax your body, what can you feel? Can you loosen it up? Can you work out? If you do 2 hours in the gym, is that too much for one day for you? Because your body will tell you a couple of days later. So start listening. Start listening to your body. The difference between your body and your mouth is very loud, and it tells you stuff straight away. But your body is more subtle. Your body, you have to shut up and listen to your body a little bit more, and actually sort of notice it more. The whole idea of one of my one of my Sifus, one of my friends, the Barefoot doctor, he used to say the saying is that in the daytime, my body's a temple. At nighttime, my body's a nightclub. So it is. So in essence, look after your body and maintain it, but give yourself some fun. Allow yourself to, have, enjoy yourself as well, and and also maybe allow yourself to get not too messy, but a little bit messy. Allow yourself to make a mistake. Allow yourself to find out what it is you need to balance your body. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to it. So, Sifu, you obviously come from the martial art and then the healing background, but listening to you talk about what happened and the body awareness, I could point out a few examples. There are normally, I don't want to be too generalized, but normally female are more flexible than men, right? They're just more flexible. It's the way that the body builds. So they normally would do a lot of exercise that involve what they're good at. Maybe they do yoga, maybe they do dancing. They don't go to the gym. So from your example, I can point out that they're really flexible, but then they never work on their muscle at all. So by the time that it hurts, if you're really flexible, you can get hurt too. Right. So they never build any strength. So when we get older, we start losing muscle. So that's, I think, the crossing point for being flexible is actually not to your advantage and become a disadvantage to you. So for them, it needs to be maybe some strength building exercise, maybe how to move the body not past that point that will break you. But for men, we always go tough. We lift heavy weights. We need to do the hardest cake. We want to break boards, whatever. And maybe when the time comes, or when you really want to do that, maybe do some internal exercise, meditation, stretching, or even just, when you finish a hard exercise, go walk around a little bit. And, in the US, we take class, and, it might be a particular hard class, and then we go right to our car. So that might not be good for your body. I know for a fact, like when you're huffing and puffing, you go to your car and you drive for an hour, that's not going to be good for your body. So with that said, how does internal awareness with the breathing, the energy, and the alignment help prevent long-term injuries?
You've got that saying, oh, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Well, hindsight is actually listening, being aware, and knowing that the interesting is that if you look or study your own life, and if you're really physical, you need to do some stillness. You need to do if you do lots of muscle work, you need to stretch your tendons. Like in Qigong, you've actually got Qigong, Neigong, Gong. So Neigong is strengthening exercises, but relaxes the muscles and strengthens those tendons. So like you're saying, stretching. And I always joke, I sort of say it's like if Qigong and yoga had a baby, it'd be Neigong. It would be because it's a mixture. Yes, there is stretching in there, but there's also those strengthening exercises. And I found, you sort of said, like, I know a lot of yoga people, a lot of people do stretch, but they stretch so much or they actually say, I don't feel stretched enough. I can bend like a pretzel, but I don't feel stretched enough. And it's like, but that's because you're doing so much on tendon work, but not enough on the muscle work. You have to balance the yin and the yang. You have to balance the male and the female. So it's a little bit of being honest with yourself. Am I focusing? Where's my balance? Is it, am I doing stretching? I'm doing a little bit of, meditating, but do not get fooled by that word meditation. Meditation. I love teasing my friends who are fishermen, and they go fishing. I say, "Oh, you go on off meditating." So I don't meditate. You go off when you meditate. You feel better. You feel more relaxed. It lets away your stresses and your strains. Yes, you're meditating. Meditation simply means focus on one thing, forget everything else. So anything that actually meditation doesn't mean, or doesn't have to mean, sitting cross-legged on a mountain going on. That's a meditation, but it's not the only meditation. Focusing on thing and forgetting everything else. So that's important. Doing a little bit of stretching. You can call it yoga, you can call it Pilates, you can call it cat stretching, you can call it whatever you want. but a little bit of stretching the tendons. Stretching the tendons releases toxins to the body because both medically and energetically, or in Chinese medicine, we say that the tendons store emotional trauma, emotional tension. So, and we know, like medically now, with epigenetics, they know that the tendons actually store the toxins from anger and stress. It can be stored in the tendons. So, stretching is one of those ones where a lot of people like NLP, new linguistic programming, it's all about the way you use words. And when you say, "Oh, I feel better," you're actually sort of hinting that you're releasing emotional toxins that are in your tendons. So stretching makes you feel better. You know, a bit of gym work builds up the muscles that makes you physically feel stronger. Meditating, whether it's fishing, whether it's tiddlywinks, whether it's sitting there doing knitting, as long as you're focusing on doing the garden, doing the grass, I know lots of people do gardening, focus on one thing, forgetting everything else. You're meditating. These things are important. So are you getting chance to do them? Well, let's say at first in a week, are you getting chance to do all these different things? Really, you need to be doing it daily, the whole thing of daily. Now, the biggest thing for especially when you get past a certain age. But for anybody but martial artists as well, we should be doing warm ups. We should be doing cool downs because that's how you get rid of the toxins. Toxin build up. When your muscles are burning, or you're like feel like fidgety, you feel agitated. That's toxin build up. That's the build up of the toxins. So cool down and warm ups are really freaking important. If you don't warm up properly, and that's when you're more likely to pull a muscle and injure something. Cooling down. If you don't cool down properly, that's when you can't sleep at night, or you're still hyper. Your body's like going through pumping iron. So the weightlifters, there's the whole thing of pumping iron. But if you don't cool down, your body's still got all that adrenaline pumping through, and it can't relax. What meditation does, whatever you call meditation, where you focus on one thing and let yourself calm down and just focus on one thing and forget everything else, that it activates the melatonin. So our pineal gland creates melatonin, DMT, and melanin. Melanin is for your skin. So when you're tired, you look pasty. Your pineal gland is not creating enough melatonin. When you're tired but you can't sleep, there's not enough melatonin being produced by your pineal gland, so you can't actually relax and go to sleep. If you're too pumping iron, you create too much adrenaline. Adrenaline, I'm going to be a little bit controversial, but adrenaline is known for actually being 3 times more powerful than cocaine. So our bodies have powerful drugs inside us. We've got ones that go to sleep, but we've got ones that wake us up. And it's all about using those drugs. You don't have to rely on stuff on the outside. You've got ones that internally. I mean, the ones on the outside are good. I'm not saying that I'm not. I don't. Say like alcohol or this or that is bad. But you've got ones on the inside. You should be using the ones on the inside. Learn to balance from within, and then you don't need as much of the ones on the outside.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. There are so many good points to unpack. And I really love your definition for meditation. You don't need to sit cross-legged, all sand and, all incense burning. It's just focusing on one thing. But it is the tricky part nowadays with our cell phone. Like we're always on the go. You're always doing 5 things at the same time. Normally, you don't really have, like, I would call it your own time for doing something that you enjoy, that which you could spend hours, or maybe you really like kick, you really like to punch, you could punch for hours, right? So that could be your moving meditation. And I really like what you point out. And that's how sometimes Eastern and Western philosophy for meditation is. For the Eastern side, they focus on the internal balance. Like you don't need to put external things into it. You don't need to pop a pill. You don't need to do other things, but realize what's missing, what needs to be maybe increased more, when you talk about the melatonin, then there are actually ways that you yourself can generate it yourself. It just, are you aware of your body alignment? Are you aware of your mind? When you say, I really like when you say the who stuff, you're spiritual, and maybe you're always giving. Are you taking in to your body? Are you listening to the body, what it is telling you? Maybe it tell you, don't sleep late right now because tomorrow you're gonna have a big day or a tournament, whatever that may be. Like you should, put away your phone and go to sleep.
Yeah, and it's like, it goes for me. So like the Zen and the Dao. So the Zen or Chan in Chinese is like the one point. It's the half see-through, the you must do this, you must, and then you've got the Tao, which is more adapting and flowing. And you need both. You need to be able to, allow yourself to chill and have fun and go with the flow. But also, like, this thing, the phones. I got a thing where I forget my phone, which means that every single day, at some point, I will walk away from it for an hour, and I make myself do that because these things can be very addictive. They actually activate your adrenaline and your endorphins because you looking at stuff stimulating, but at the same time, the lights, the light in there actually closes off your pineal gland. So especially at night time, if you're watching your phone or watching the TV late at night, I can't sleep. Yeah, did you want the phone? You naughty boy or you naughty person. You've got to get off it. And so you've got to teach yourself to be your own Sifu and your own teacher, your own Zen master. It's like you've got to put things away for a little bit. And when you do, if you can do, I'm very much a Daoist. So Daoist is very much about daily practice, about regular practice. So doing a bit of stretching every day, doing a little bit of cool down, warm up and cool down every day. Do a bit of stretching, do a bit of Qigong, do a bit of fitness. Doing a little bit every single day goes a long way. So when you get into the practice of, like saying, for a little bit of period of time, putting the phone away, not going away and going into nature, go read a book, go and do whatever, but get away from these things. And the biggest thing, sort of like mentioned earlier, like if you're very much into one thing, do the things you don't like. Because there's a saying like, like do one every day, do one thing that scares you. Do every day, if you're a martial artist and you're a writer, then learn to do more stuff on the left. Learn if your weakness is defense, every day focus on one defensive move. If your weakness is attack, every day focus on the attack move. If your weakness is getting out of holds or putting people in the holds, one every day focus on the things that you're not that great on, or the things you least like, because actually there's a philosophy within Daoism that says when you're balanced, you attract the things that will help you keep balance and the things that help you grow. When you're out of balance, you'll attract the things that will keep you out of balance. So if you're doing if you find in your life that you're aching or you're struggling in life, then do the things that are opposite. Do the thing that will actually make you move or make you get out of that seat. Do the things that you least likely want to do, because actually that could be the thing that you really need right now to actually balance you back up and bring your body back into function. Because we have this thing of, yes, we can be attracted to the things that we want, but we can also, if we're unbalanced, we can also be attracted to the things that will keep us where we are, which is our unbalance. If that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to it, because as a martial artist, I'm sure that everyone has their favorite skills, right? Maybe you go to punching, you go to kicking, you're doing something that you're really good at, but your weakness, you don't want to practice that. Like you just let that go and you put it under the rug. So it's just aware of doing something new. Recently at my dojo, there's a gentleman who is 78 years young. He came, he said, the reason that I wanted to start at, his age, his wife said, yeah, you too old, why are you starting? But he said, this kept me going. This is not something that I normally do. And he said, to keep my mind sharp, I don't care what belt I get. I just want to do things that I normally wouldn't do. Because when we begin class, we need to go from a kneeling position to one knee forward, and then we have to stand up. He told me that I couldn't do that. But watching his body mechanic, I asked him, which he said he's not aware before, is I told him that you have to keep your body tight. You just have to brace your core. And then when you're tight, and then you push up and exhale, then he was able to do that within maybe 30 seconds of me walking him through the awareness that one needs to be able to stand up. And I want to ask you this question too. How much can we discover on our own? And how, when should we seek out for advice, to use Sifu to learn about things that we don't know, or we didn't even know that exists? Like, can we figure it out ourselves, or should we always seek better guidance?
Daoistically, it's both, but it's the thing of, if you think you're at your limit, I can guarantee you're not. It's a lot. There's a classic. When I say about like learning Tai Chi and Qigong to people, it's like, I don't have time. It's like I can guarantee I can find 15 minutes in your day where you're twiddling your thumbs. I can probably guarantee I can find an hour in your day. My oldest student, in my late 20s, my oldest student was 96,
Wow.
96 years old, and he was 96, and he died at 106. And his daughter, just his partner, his wife had died, and he was sort of giving up. He could hardly walk, a little bit like what you was talking about. And I just went for the basics. So we just said this is how you do it, and slowly building up and made it fun. There's a thing I do with especially with like Tai Chi and Qigong, is when I have elderly people or people who are a little bit frail on their legs, I get them to stand in front of their favourite sofa or their chair and get them to stand up, and then when they feel a bit weak, just fall back into your chair. And I get a couple of the ladies, they'll go, I fell over again, and Daoist, you're doing that on purpose and making it a laugh, but it's all about play and making it fun. But the thing is that if you think you can't, then you can. It's because can't just means sorry, but can't means I won't. And sometimes you need to, even if you don't like something, do it anyway, because there's a value from that. Because why don't you like it? That's like in psychology. Why don't you like it? What's the reason? But I just don't. Well, then what are you resisting? There's something there that you're resisting. So you do need to, especially for a martial artist, is that do the things that you're weak at, because that's what makes you strong. That's what I was taught all the time. My Sifus, my Sifus would put me against somebody that there's a 99% chance I'm going to lose. But they would talk about, and in Tai Chi they talk about this loss, invest in loss. And invest in loss meaning you learn from losing, you learn from doing things you fail. Because, in life, just because you fail now, if you keep doing it, there's a whole philosophy of luck, and luck is the probability. Is that if you keep doing something over and over again, sooner or later you'll get it right. Sooner or later, if you keep playing the lottery, sooner or later you'll win. Right. So if you keep what I say, but if you keep doing the thing that you're not good at, you will get better. That's the whole point, And what you've got to do is stop telling yourself off. The forebrain in Daoism, we talk about the monkey mind, the forebrain. And we know in psychology, we actually have 60 to 90,000 thoughts running through the front of your head. And those 60 to 90,000 thoughts, a lot of them are past teachers, parents, now, you're this or that, or, you're a loser, and you've got all those thoughts running around in your head. And what you've got to do is just clear them away. And it's like, move forward, move past the things that you're not good at, and try the things you're not good at, or do the things, do something new, do something that scares you, because that's where you grow, that's where you learn. When we do, the comfort zone is actually a stagnant zone, because when you're in the comfort zone and I'll just stick with what I know, you'll never grow. You'll never expand. You'll never flow. You will learn and you will grow, but at a slower rate. So doing things that take you out of that comfort zone, doing things that are new, are where you learn stuff and where you experience. You want to meet new people. You have to go out and meet new people. And some of them you'll get on with and some of them you won't. But in for me, in Daoism, there is no good or bad, it just is. Everything is learning, everything is experience. So when you can go into things with that attitude, it's like, so what if I so what if I make a mistake? So what if, I get it wrong? Is that I keep doing it, at some point I'll get it right.
Yeah, I like that. In business, I think I learned a saying, show me a person who never failed, I can show you that he never tries anything new. So it's just that simple. You have to lift heavy weights to get stronger. Or in martial art example, you have to fight an opponent that is really 10 times better than you, then you could get better. So if you always spar or train with people who you think you are more superior, then you're in the wrong place to train. You always want to train with someone better so you could grow. So different analogy, different examples. So I think we're going the same thing. I want to ask you for kind of like a long question and kind of like a selfish one. I'm in my late 40s, and I think in the past couple of years, I do feel me feeling more aging, getting slower. Things that I normally cannot do as well anymore. Part of the show, the Shugyō, actually means lifelong discipline, part of training. So for someone, for me, who is frustrated, maybe dealing with some injury or age catching up, what would you say to them?
So I actually get this quite a bit, because I get people who, for example, because I do a lot of actual massage. I do for me, like, massage. I help lots of people with massage, but my goal is always to help people help themselves. And so I get people like with frozen shoulder. They've had frozen shoulder for 10, 20 years, and it's like, right, okay, so that's indicating that the pattern that you're doing, you need to stop doing. It's led you to here. So like you're saying, or for example, I'm not as fast as I used to be out at something. Well, then do it in a different way, or like go back to like the thing in a lot of Daoist training is little and often, building up, is that there's an old technique, and a lot of people think it's a myth, but I actually know it's a real thing. It's like, you want to learn to jump 6 foot straight in the air. You start off with a hole, and you jump 500 times out of that hole, and then every day you take a cupful of dirt out until you reach your target limit. And it's like, oh, that sounds like rubbish, but I've done that. I've actually done that, and it's like, and then when you look behind it, it's the continuous practice that actually allows you to over a period of time get stronger and stronger. So when you find you can't do something as well as you used to, as well, you need to see through. You need to go back to being a student, find what's blocking that thing, or do it in a slightly different way. Do you need to do more warm up? Do you need to do a little bit more stretching? Do you need to warm that body up? Because especially on things when you're stiff and aching, that's lack of blood circulation. So lack of blood circulation means to improve blood circulation, you can either heat the area up, improve blood circulation that way, or do more warm ups that warm the body up. And it's about that you have changed, because we all change. So you need to change the way you do that thing. But by changing the way you do it, you can get back to how you did before. Because some people go with, oh, well, as you're older, you just have to accept that, that you can't do it as well as you used to. And it's like, I don't accept that. It's just that because, there are many different Qigongs, I probably know almost 1,000 Qigongs, and people, but there's about 3,000 Qigongs. There's loads of freaking Qigongs out there. So there's loads of different ways. The old saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So that means there's more than one way to do whatever exercise or whatever you're doing. There's another way to improve it. There's another way to enhance it. It's that if you're getting slower, you're hitting a wall. You're hitting a limit. So take away the wall. Take away that limit. Find a way to extend it. Find a way. Maybe you need to, move a little bit more into, going back to the basics and improving that again. Maybe you need a bit of the stance training. Maybe you need a bit of, but there's something. There's always an answer to the question. There's always a solution to the problem. And if I learned anything, it was that if you don't know it, somebody else does. And to answer your question earlier, then yes, go and find somebody who does know the answer. Go and look for that information. That's why I never stop learning. I'm always looking at genetics and quantum physics, and I'm always looking at other stuff. And you know so much. You said, yeah, but there's always more to know. There's always more to learn. Growing water never grows stale. So you'll always flow and always grow and always expand what I know. But hey, what do I know?
Thanks for sharing and answering the question. I think there's a lot of truth to it. What are one or two habits a martial artist can add to their weekly training starting today that will help their body and mind in the long term? I'll let you take it any way you want.
Yeah. I think like this thing of, do you listen to your body? And if you do, then listen more. It's like listening, like all those like, all those niggles. And I don't mean worrying about them. I mean listening to them. And then the biggest thing I learned with the body is that when I feel an ache or pain somewhere, I relax. I tense and I relax, and I learn to actually loosen that body up. Because for me, Qigong and Tai Chi is actually self-massage. That's what it is. We can call it an energy exercise. We can call it a martial application. Even for me, the cutters from in karate, they are your forms, but they're also drilling in stretching the body, allowing the body to function and move. You're learning in a certain way. So the cutters are important, but how you do it is important. When you do something quickly, it tends to be more martial or fitness. When you do it slowly, it's more healing and relaxing. So look at how you're doing stuff. What are you doing? Is your routines all work and no play? You need more play. Is it more fast and no slow? You need more slow. Learn to balance your stuff. And that doesn't mean every single day you do the same thing, because in the winter, you wear warmer clothes. In the summer, you wear less clothes. Adapt to your seasons. And I'm talking about your personal seasons, not just the external ones. Learn to listen to yourself. Learn to adapt. Learn to flow. A great one for me, depending on people's techniques, belly breathing. It's like just gently putting your hands on the belly, breathing in, let the belly expand, breathing out, pulling the belly in. So breathing in, let the belly expand, it opens up the full diaphragm, and it's allowing all the oxygen in. But then pulling that belly in, so you're going like with the belly, you're allowing yourself to expand one way, but then you pull it back in, and you bring in that tension. So you expand and you stretch, and then you contract and allow the muscles to work. So it's a learning to do the both, like use your muscles, use your tendons, stretch, relax, find ways round stuff. If you're aching, if you're feeling not yourself, like moody or aggressive, if you're hurting, there's a blockage. Physical, emotional, spiritual, or energetic. If there's a blockage, unblock it. Find a way to unblock it. Learn. You have sifus out there, and you learn from some great sifus out there, some great senseis. But remember, you are your own sensei as well. Listen to yourself. Learn from yourself. Never stop learning. Never stop growing. Keep flowing.
Yeah, I think that's like the most important. When you stop or when you say, I'm done, then you're done, right? You have to keep yourself into the game, and it does. I think we spend too much time not focusing on ourselves. We care about others. We work, we're busy, we have to do this and that. And a lot of times, even for what you just described, Sifu Boogie, about the diaphragm breathing, like, do you really focus on your breath a single time a day? A lot of time we don't, right? So it's not a question of how long should I do it. It's just, when you think maybe two breaths can bring you back to where you are feeling better, then two breaths is good. Or
Yeah.
if you have time, you do half an hour, you devote it to all breathing or Qigong, right? Then you do it. It's just however time your body wants you to do, which you normally don't, then, that's the time you should allocate that into your own practice.
Yeah, and to learn, I mean, the ultimate qigong and tai chi is everything you do is qigong and tai chi. That's like the Sifu's ultimate path is that everything they do is a qigong, everything they do is a tai chi, everything they do, so qigong breath work, breathing and moving. We know in psychology and also epigenetics that when we move and breathe at the same time, so like breathe in, let your body expand, breathe out, let your body relax, breathe in, let your body, your belly expand, breathe out, relax. As we start doing that, we actually harmonize both sides of the brain, the left and right hemisphere, and it starts to become coherent and balanced. So learning to do this, not just for a minute, yes, do it for a minute at first and build up, but eventually the goal is to do it all the time and to let that expand all the time. And it's the, it's the point is that there's the mood of, well, in Star Wars. Star Wars actually based on Buddhism and Daoism. Is that George Lucas actually mentioned back in the late 70s that he actually studied, he was studying Daoism and Buddhism and the whole idea of the light and the dark side of the force is the yin and the yang, and that Qi is the force, and all the sayings that Yoda used were Buddhist and Taoist. And so there's a very good one from Yoda who said, "Don't try, do. There is no try." And it's like, if you're saying, "I can't do this," or, "I tried, but," is that take away those tries, take away the buts, get your butt off the floor and do something and do what you need to. That, if you feel, I feel, I feel lack of energy and I feel real frustrated. Well, get your backside off the couch and do something. Or if you're running around all hyper and it's like, I can't slow down, then slow down. Don't, that's what your body's telling you. If you feel too much of one thing, you need to do the opposite. You need to just listen to the body. And that's the biggest thing. I think for me, like, I'm very much into the sacred child. A lot of people talk about the divine masculine, the divine feminine. But the sacred child is all about the play. It's all about allowing yourself to see the bigger picture. But it's also what a lot of adults get annoyed with kids about is asking freaking questions. What if? Why? Why? You're old now and aches and pains are normal. Why? Why is that normal? It's not normal. It's that it's only normal because you've allowed it to become normal. Make a new normal. Change things. You can always change something. That's if I learned anything from Tony, the 96-year-old, if I learned anything, was that you can change your life at any point. Any point in your life, you can change. He was at 96. He was ready to give up. He wants to die. His wife had died. He wanted to die. He couldn't walk anymore, and he was ready to give up. We taught him qigong. Within a few years, he was walking again. He got stronger, and his that 10 years, he got an extra 10 years, and he enjoyed it. He loved life again, and he started to enjoy stuff. There is no limit to. There is no end point. There is no, like, there's a big thing about, I failed. If you're still breathing, you're alive. That means you've not failed. You may have given up for a bit, but you've not failed. the only time you fail technically is when you're no longer here. And I believe in reincarnation, so that means you're going to come back and do it all over again anyway. So you never fail. You want to do something, do it. You want to get better, but get better. Epigenetics, for me, epigenetics very much says the way you think and feel affects your physical health. So if you feel unfit, you'll make yourself more unfit. But if you focus on finding ways to get better, don't focus on the problem, focus on the solution.
I like that. That's a good life lesson too. You could apply to almost anything. For the 98-year-old student of yours, maybe the goal is just to stand up and walk again, which you with your help it did. And he's not saying I'm going to climb Mount Everest. I'm not going to be the best fighter. And it's just as simple to be able to walk again. I think the takeaway is just what it is that you want to do. Or maybe at this point you're not there yet, but if you adjust the goal, or maybe you take smaller baby steps, then when you get success, when you get a win, right, then you're more likely to try it again. Because if it's your first day in class, you want to be the master, it's sorry to tell you that it's not possible, right? But if you go day by day and you set goal for yourself, maybe in 5 years, 10 years, or maybe in your lifetime, you could be as good as the master. So I think that the self-dialogues is sometimes we need to tell ourselves about. And Sifu, I really do enjoy our conversation. I feel like that we could talk for the next 4 hours, which I'm not going to. For a listener who want to learn more about your journey and then your teaching and your healing process, what is a good way to connect with you?
So on YouTube, on TikTok, on Facebook, I'm under Sifu Boggie, Sifu Boggie. Even on LinkedIn, I think it's Paul Sifu Boggie Brighton. So you can find me there. I've also have Shun Dao, so it'll be in the links below, but ShunDao.uscreen.io is my mystery school, is where, and well, a lot with me, I don't do things in a normal way or in a particular way. I'm about play, I'm about learning. A lot of my students will say the most scariest thing that Sifu Boggie will ask you is, what do you want to do next? Because for me, it's about, let's go on this adventure together, let's learn together. So that I'm very much about learning the path. That yes, I can tell you do this, but also I want to look and see what best helps you and then go on that path. So yes, we do the basics, but then we can go off and do many other things as well.
Thank you so much. I will keep all the links and ways to connect with Sifu on the show notes. And thank you so much for coming on to the show today. I learned a lot, and there's a lot to think about.
It's been great fun with you, Sifu. So thank you very much.
Thank you.